We build like a pyramid.
So I'm looking at yours.
I'm looking at yours, and
I really
don't understand.
I have a guess as to what some of those are, but I'm really not sure where you went.
I'm like not kidding. I'm looking, and I don't understand what.
Time in history that the AP music watch would have made sense.
Yeah, that's too on the nose, though,
I know,
David.
but I'm saying it's the only time that's
Too much
Too much music
fruit.
there.
or that Patek that we had with the Sade on it.
Oh, Sade. Yeah, exactly. The Sade Patek. That would have been perfect.
The jazz.
the jazz,
the
yeah.
Patek, the jazz Calatrava.
What in the absolute...
All will be revealed. All will be revealed.
I'm not sure.
It's going to make sense.
I'm not sure. That's good. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, we know. Mike's alive. We're professionals. We got this.
It all will be revealed. Don't try to peep my list, please.
I'm just trying to figure out what the hell you're thinking.
I thought like a couple of these would be obvious and you would know.
I mean, yeah, that's obvious. I think these two are obvious.
Okay. Okay.
This is throwing me for a loop right now.
It could go a couple places.
I think I know where you're going with that. Okay. I don't agree with it at all, but
Okay.
I think I know.
Okay. Don't forget this one.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Okay.
I also don't agree. I also think I know where you're going with that. I'm not sure I'm excited about it. But that leaves me with these, and I'm like, what?
Yep. Yep. I did think about that. I was very close to pulling that, but I feel like I've pulled so much Urwerk recently that
I'm wondering what
I wanted to keep it
Mr.
spicy.
Paradigm complimenting your tie divot.
I can't see because I got the thing in the way. Yeah, that one did all right.
I don't know. A little much for me. I don't know. Taking it too far, Rob.
What, the divot?
Yeah, the divot. I don't like it.
The true divot's supposed to be with the seam in the middle and then the divot on each side. You're supposed to do like the double divot. I only do a single divot. You have no divot.
Yeah, I know, because it's a grenadine tie, bro.
You have like the pre-tied, I'm going to prom
pre-tied. You son of a bitch.
2002.
Take that back. Take that back.
If it had a little more sheen to it, maybe in a matching vest, you'd be good.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Coming out guns blazing, Rob. You wish your tie was as nice as this. Yeah, I don't know what the hell you're doing over there.
This is classic. This is, yeah.
Is it real, though?
Is it real? Is it real?
I mean, I see you not answering me, but that's okay.
Is it real?
Okay.
Fake ties are for fake people, along with fake watches.
Bandit? Album name?
I feel like that's like something you see on the on public transportation or something.
Fake ties are for fake people.
Like don't buy fraudulent goods. It's like the FBI warning you used to get when you put in a video cassette tape. They were all like,
I forgot about that. That's right. That's right.
We will find you.
The tag on your mattress.
Exactly. Yeah, pain of death.
Actually, you know what? I want to pull up one other thing here before we get going.
This watch is impossible to clean.
Yeah. Good luck showing that one.
I mean, I'm going to show it. It's going to look great. But it's just like, it's hard. Under these lights, to not have dust on it is difficult.
Impossible.
Do you have canned air down here?
Huh?
Do you have canned air?
Shh. Go get some.
We should have
Grab
some.
me a can. Maybe that'll do. It's another one of these things, man. As soon as I pull it and I've got it in my hands and I'm playing with it and then I'm like, you know?
I know, this one. Oh, you?
I kind of like this.
God. Oh, God.
I kind of like this. It's so absurd.
Oh, I'm going to post this. I'm going to take this off now. Delete. Right?
There it is.
I should delete this story and I'll post the one with the link.
Oh. Men's Warehouse.
Label check. All right, deleting. Delete story.
Ah.
Delete.
Checking the wrist cam.
Posting.
I don't know if I'm in the middle since
this,
it's not on the monitor.
and I
but-
need the link.
Now looks like
I feel like when it glitches big. Like you notice it because it's like.
Oops, sorry. How do I share? Boom. Copy link.
Okay, I think I got the dust off. Thank you, good sir. Here. I can't. If I throw it, it's going to hit the ground and explode.
Oh, I hope so.
Lights just come crashing down.
Sparks and smoke.
This suit actually is tremendously old.
Tremendously.
It is due for
Refresh.
a refresh. It is. But I wore it in case the snow got real nasty. Like if it got ruined while I was walking, I'd be like, whatever. Okay.
Good story.
But then it didn't snow. So it's not a good story because we didn't actually get the snow we were promised.
All right. That is posted there. Look at us on top of it right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully that uploaded.
20
Let's see.
seconds left
Did
on
that
the real
upload?
timer.
Did that upload?
Don't
Did that
look at
upload?
the fake timer.
Don't worry, I won't. Okay, I think that just uploaded. Let's see. All right, we're good to go whenever you guys want. Yes, that uploaded. Sweet. Okay, cool. All right.
I got our notification.
Albert Ganji, hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Horological Happy Hour. I'm Justin.
I'm Rob.
Thank you for joining us. This week, Rob and I were inspired by the Grammys this past weekend. Saw a lot of interesting watches on the red carpet and at the event. So we decided to chat about watches and music. So we went out to you guys on Instagram earlier this week, and we asked for some suggestions of different songs, artists, etc., that you wanted us to pair with music. And we got a lot of responses.
And we got great responses.
We did.
Like high quality stuff. So thank you all for that. And I think my favorite response was the one where they said to make sure that you like and subscribe while you're sitting here on our YouTube page.
There you go.
Thanks. Helps us get this show out to more eyeballs, and it feeds the algorithm. Alrighty. We should do the rituals.
We should. Let's get it going.
As we continue to work through this absolutely lovely bottle of Oban
Yep.
that
Can't pour myself first, sorry.
a friend kindly gave to us as we finished our last one. That's good, that's good. You and your generous pours.
I mean, come on, it's Scotch, and it's a Thursday, and it's kind
And
of
it's
snow. It's
Thursday.
kind of snowing out.
There is nothing better than a nice, warm, inviting Scotch
True.
on a cold, snowy day. So
Cheers, guys.
here's to all of you.
Cheers to you.
Here's to you. That is
Oban.
really very, very good.
Delicious.
So,
Go ahead.
digging into the Grammys.
Yes.
An interesting, I find these award shows are kind of interesting right now. They're not the spectacle they used to be. Like, they don't draw the audience they used to anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually end up, in my own personal social media, I end up seeing more of this kind of content in
Same.
terms of who wore what than who won what. And I follow a lot of music stuff.
Who wore what? Who won what? I like it.
Yeah. I follow a lot of music stuff.
Yes.
Right? Like my feed is kind of 50-50 watches and then music stuff. And at least within the musical stuff that I follow, there's not much discussion about the Grammys.
Well, it's funny. I mean,
Because
like,
I'm not a big pop.
neither of us are, and I feel like it's almost like a rite of passage. But you get to that point in your life, and I don't know who any of the artists are, or I don't know who a lot of the artists are who are winning Grammys at this point. So, no, same. The day after, it's almost like the Academy Awards. You see more about, like, again, the watches that people are wearing on the red carpet than I do about who actually won and whatnot. So, there was actually a lot of interesting stuff though on the red carpet, and it's funny, like, more so, it's every year it feels like it's more and more that you see, people actually making a point to show off what they're wearing, to wear interesting stuff. A few years ago, it was very clear that, it's all sponsorship deals. People are all
Well, I
working
was
with
actually going
brands.
to talk about that because I'm not so sure it was this
Well,
time.
that's what I was going to say, is that it seems like things are now transitioning and people are wearing stuff that they actually like, or they look very natural in. So like, I feel like we've kind of turned a little bit of a corner where instead of guys just like constantly doing one of these on the
right,
on the red carpet,
Jaeger,
paid
gave
them
them this thing
whatever.
and said you have to wear this reverso, and then they're required,
Yeah.
obligated
Yeah.
per se, to wear these watches. Why don't we dig right into this?
Yeah, let's jump in.
Throw that first one up on screen because I found this tremendously interesting.
Did you?
Billy Joe Armstrong, the frontman of Green Day, spotted with a two-tone Aquaterra with a red dial.
Yeah. Apparently it's a boutique edition. It's their moonshine gold, obviously, two-tone steel and yellow with a red burgundy lacquer dial. I know you mentioned you were going to try and see, but do you know, is Billy Joe Armstrong an ambassador for Omega?
I could not find anything.
Yeah.
Anything on the internet that linked him in any way to Omega or Swatch Group. And not that I did an extensive search, but usually you can find stuff pretty quickly if that connection is there. So I'm led to believe that this is his watch, and I'm super curious about it because, there's obviously debate over whether Green Day is like punk or pop punk or whatever it is. This is like the least punk watch
I was going to
in
say,
the world,
that is,
in my
when I saw
opinion.
that photo, I was like, what the hell is going on? Because that, like you said, it's the least punk or even just green, whatever, however you categorize Green Day, like this watch bears no resemblance to what I would expect him to wear.
And I don't care what era of Green Day, whether you're like looking at the Dookie era or American Idiot
or something.
or
yeah.
Anything that came even after that. It's like it's just strange.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird.
I didn't get it.
Next up, this one's great. I absolutely love this. So this is, so obviously Red Hot Chili Peppers, the drummer. That's not Will Ferrell. It's Chad Smith, so he's the drummer for the Chili Peppers, and he's wearing a Platinum Daytona. And it's tough to tell whether it's the older version or the new 126506. Obviously, the photo, on the right is the new one, but that's a boss watch.
And I love the white dinner jacket with no tie.
Yeah.
White fitted baseball cap, Platinum Daytona. Like,
Well,
I think
also look at that, the little lapel pin, the light blue lapel pin that matches the dial.
Go back, put that on screen again.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then the pocket square. Like, I think that's actually, this whole like black tie thing has become very loose.
Well, it's the Grammys. It's going to be wild.
Even for the Oscars, all of those shows, it's a very loose concept, and I think that's killer.
Yeah.
I really like it. I think the whole thing from top to bottom is very cool.
That's also like elder statesman of, like pop, rock and roll kind of, look. Like that's the watch. That's what you expect somebody like that to be wearing.
I think it's cool.
With however many platinum records the Chili Peppers have.
That gets big thumbs up for me. The whole thing, the whole ensemble's killer.
Next up, we have this guy I honestly didn't know, but this is, hold on, wait for it. His name's Dave Free. He's a video producer. He won for Best Music Video with Kendrick Lamar. And he's wearing an Urwerk. That's the Ur 100V Space-Time purple, obviously.
That's the ultraviolet, right?
Yeah, and we've sold a few of those, and you, Mr. Russell, are a big fan of that particular watch, aren't you?
I think it's sick. I really like it. I wouldn't do it with the white strap personally, but I really like it. I don't think it goes with his particular ensemble there, personally. But to each their own,
That's a cool choice, though. Like to be more behind the scenes kind of guy. He's a producer. And for the video, to choose something that wild and that out there, like that's a cool choice. I love seeing people, public figures essentially choosing to wear something that wild and that totally out there.
Again, I would doubt that. I don't know. I would doubt that's placement.
I don't think so
in
either.
My opinion, that doesn't feel like placement to me.
And
if it is, it's brilliant. But it doesn't feel like placement.
First of all, I don't necessarily think Urwerk is going out of their way to do not endorsement
brand,
deals, but a brand ambassador kind of deal, and also to choose the video producer as opposed to the artist it would be a very interesting move. So I don't know. I mean, I hope that's his watch. That's pretty cool.
It would be cool.
Moving on, a little bit dressier, a little bit more what you'd expect from an award show. This is Phineas. That's Billie Eilish's brother and collaborator on everything.
Yep.
And he's got that the classic yellow gold burgundy Tank Louis that came out a few years ago. These are great pieces. They're super approachable. It's just like easy. You can obviously perfect with a burgundy suit. Burgundy on burgundy on burgundy.
Rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
But it's just easy. Like you don't have to put much thought into it, but it's a great piece. That I'm assuming is probably product placement.
That would feel a little bit more like it in that case, but that is a legit black tie watch too.
Totally.
Like that is the essence, small, precious metal, time only, not even a second hand. Like that ticks all the boxes. So yeah, I like it.
Next up, we got Janelle Monáe wearing a Tag Heuer. This is a Carrera model that they came out with in the past year or two. Yellow gold, black dial. The cool thing about this, the reason why I wanted to show it is she's wearing a Gianni Agnelli style over the cuff, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. And it works again, like with that outfit and all the gold that she's wearing, and then to have it on the outside like that, that also feels like that's placed.
Totally.
Pretty sure that's placed.
It has to be.
But it works. It works.
It literally looks like, I think they even changed the strap to a blue strap there.
It looks like it's navy or something.
So it like matches her suit, which is kind of cool. So yeah,
cool.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then come on, the Big Daddy. Like, what do you expect? Jay-Z, as usual, comes with the absolute heat. So this is a unique piece. Patek 5304R. So that's a minute repeater retrograde perpetual. Obviously, just like dripping in diamonds, full skeleton. Like, yeah.
And look at him with like the old school tux, black tie cummerbund, like French cuffs. Like that is just, it's so cool.
It's so
I love
classy.
that his style is incredible.
Yeah.
His range and his breadth of style, and like his watch collection obviously is second to none.
I feel like every year around this time, around award season, like we get inundated with like a barrage of photos of Jay-Z with just like the sickest watches you've never seen. Just completely bonkers.
He wins.
Couple more. So this is Ray. She's a British singer-songwriter. Really interesting. I think she won a couple Grammys actually. But interesting new artist. She's wearing one of the tiny little 23 mil AP Royal Oaks that they debuted in the past year. This is so they're quartz. But this is the frosted white gold, which we had a full-size Royal Oak Chrono in the frosted white gold, and they are so good in person because it's actually hand hammer finished. It's almost like a tremblage finish.
It's stunning.
They're nuts.
I look at this and I wonder if this marks the return of the cocktail watch. Like that looks like an old school cocktail watch.
Totally.
From the 1920s or 30s. And I wonder if that could make a resurgence. Because in that kind of situation, like formal ball gown kind of thing, and then that watch, it's killer.
It's almost like
I love it.
It's like the evolution of that cocktail watch, where those old ones were so tiny you could never tell the time on them.
Yeah.
And then you got stuff like this that is just a little bigger, a little bit more useful, but like still has that same kind of feeling. And I think this is last. So we couldn't not show this. So this is Shabuzi, who is a country artist, and he's wearing a Jacob & Co.
The billionaire.
Yeah, for real. So it has 162 diamonds on it, 60 plus carats. It's got a $1.2 million price tag, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know who's buying this, but
I feel like the people who actually own that watch are the people who are never in the public spotlight. And then Jacob & Co. lends this watch out to people every now and again for them to wear for high-profile events.
I would guess.
Like there's one like loaner watch that all these guys have
Jacob
worn.
& Co. has made one of them. That's the only one, and it gets loaned out.
Oh, I guarantee you there's
think so?
some super mondo billionaire who's like got one of those in his box, but it never sees the light of day because, he's not an on the grid kind of character. Can we talk about that suit jacket though?
That is like
That's
shark skin to the
I
max.
legit thought it was like inflated or something when I saw it, because it's got that weird, like, you touch it and it sounds like
It
a
actually
balloon.
does look like it. That's hilarious. Oh my
So.
God. So that was it from the red carpet. So let's.
So in the
oh,
chat.
wait, no, I forgot.
Oh.
Sorry, one more.
In the chat, let us know which is your favorite. This to me was wild.
This was so weird. Okay, so obviously Will Smith wearing a vintage UG pole rooter that he got very publicly from, Eric Wind loaned it to him to wear on the red carpet. I was obviously UG, they just relaunched the brand. They had that big event.
Yeah.
It was maybe a couple months ago where they flew a bunch of journalists, over to Europe and, gave them the whole experience and whatnot. I am interested to see if Will Smith ends up being an ambassador for the relaunched UG brand. That would kind of make sense
so funny
to me.
because I saw this posted by Eric Wind that he styled this watch for Will Smith, and I actually looked at that and I was like, wow, this is the complete opposite of brand ambassador things, because here he is with a vintage watch, and like. The complete opposite, not even a company that's even commercially producing anything at the moment.
Sure.
So I thought that was a super interesting choice. And I in my head was turning over, I wonder what that has to do with where he might be in his career at the moment.
Will Smith?
Yeah, after the whole slap.
It is a very, yes, after the slap, right.
Post-slap.
That's why I was wondering, is there going to be a connection between him and the brand?
And
is
the
he
new brand.
Is he trying to
I didn't even think about
rehabilitate
that.
his reputation or,
Yeah.
or whatever? But all right, so there you go. Those were the top watches that we noticed on the red carpet and thought were worth discussing.
So what's your favorite? Put it in the chat. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. All right.
We've had people in the chat.
We have. I don't know.
Thanks, Adam.
Let's see. We'll keep looking, but
It's not there.
all right. So now we're gonna move on to talking about watches and music. Some of the things that you guys suggested to us. Let me get my handy dandy speaker turned on.
While you're
here.
doing that,
Yeah.
I'll explain what we did in case you missed it. In our Instagram stories, we asked all of you to send us a musical selection. And some of you sent us an artist, some of you sent us an album, some of you sent us genres, some of you sent us specific songs. And unfortunately, we can't get to them all. But what we did is we went through all of your suggestions and we picked out 8 that we thought were really interesting. And then we made the idea of saying who can pair the better watch with each musical selection. So we have a nice cross section of genres.
We do.
And artists and eras, and it really like kind of bridges an awful lot here. So on this side here, we have watches that I have selected to go with the music we have, and then Justin has his on that side. It won't make much sense to you yet since you don't know what we'll be talking about, but we're gonna.
I don't know if you'll make much sense. Period. I was looking at your selection and had no idea what the hell you were going for.
Well, because you don't understand the story behind it
Right.
yet. Each of these was picked with intent and purpose.
Okay. All right. Well, starting off.
I like Scott saying that Eric Wind is the winner.
Yeah, I think so, actually.
That's kind of funny.
And I'm guessing Chris Rock won't be wearing one of those. It's pretty funny, too. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start. Let's see. So we'll start with the jazz suggestion we got. I think that was a good one. At Ramsey Stefan, at Ramsey Steven, I'm not sure, suggested
Stefan.
Stephan. I don't
Yeah.
know. So suggested Stolen Moments by Oliver Nelson. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the musical stylings of Oliver Nelson here, and we will then tell you what we decided to go with. So if you're not familiar, Oliver Nelson was a composer, band leader. He played the sax and clarinet, and was active in the 60s. He was an absolute monster.
One of the greatest albums of all time. That comes off of More Blues and the Abstract Truth, which is an Impulse release. And that is, it's stellar from start to finish. You have Freddie Hubbard, you have Eric Dolphy, I think Bill Evans is on there. It's an all-star cast. It is absolutely it's one of my favorite albums of all time.
If you weren't aware, Robert is a trained musician and trained jazz musician. Well, not really trained jazz musician, but kind of.
Yeah. No, my undergrad's in jazz studies.
Okay, there you go. Jazz studies, plays the trumpet. So he's gonna run circles around me discussing music, but absolute killer song. Very, very cool. Robert, that is not what I expected you to choose for this. This makes no sense already. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No way. This is my jazz watch. We're just waiting for that camera to boot up. There we go. Perfecto. Give me focus. Give me shelter.
There we go.
We're not doing that song. So I have picked the Patek 5146 in white gold.
This makes no sense.
This is a now discontinued annual calendar, 39 millimeter size. We have day, date, month, and moon phase. The difference between an annual and a perpetual is that this knows every month except February. So this does not know when it's a leap year. I'm having focus issues here, guys. There we go. I just got it in. Nope, it's out again. There we go. So I did know that, Mr. Paradigm, that Flea is actually a pretty fine trumpet player. I have heard him play, not in person, but I have heard him play on the internet, and he is quite good. So this is an absolute classic watch. This was in the Patek catalog. David, I am struggling today. Can you help me? This is an absolute classic watch, and for a while, this was kind of the standard bearer for Patek's calendars.
Guys, just cut off this camera and come back to us if it's not in focus.
Let's go to the middle, maybe. Go here, because I'm not getting a good focus on that one. Classic size, absolute perfect proportions.
So why does this pair with Stolen Moments by Oliver Nelson and any kind of jazz?
So here's the deal. Jazz is an interesting genre because a lot of people will say, I don't understand jazz. I can't get into it. It's too crazy. It's too highbrow, whatever, yada, yada, yada. This watch is exactly that because people look at Patek Philippe, going back over here. People look at Patek Philippe and they're like, that is, I can't get into Patek Philippe. It's like too crazy, it's too high, it's too out of the scope of understanding, whatever. But this watch is aesthetically pleasing right off the bat. It's perfectly balanced, it's perfectly sized. You get an incredible movement in the back. You get a lacquered dial that's warm and inviting and comfortable, just like putting on Stolen Moments with a nice scotch at the end of the day.
Oh boy.
And that is my choice.
Robert, there's nothing improvisational about that. There's nothing emotional about that. It's so just cut and dry, annual calendar, very straightforward Patek. Like,
no way.
This
This to me is not cold. This is
I didn't say it was cold.
Wish I had.
I didn't say it was cold.
It's not emotional.
It's not.
And to me, there is absolute emotion.
All right. Well,
there's emotion. There is whimsy.
Let me give you the correct watch for jazz.
As usual.
Obviously, the only answer here is a Cartier crash.
Somebody did say, they said Tank.
I don't mind Tank
was the jazz watch. So somebody did join you with Cartier.
But so my idea here, obviously, is that, jazz in general, and, specifically the kind of jazz that, that Oliver Nelson, that Oliver Nelson played, and Stolen Moments in general, it's improvisational, it's flowing, it's loose, but it has a very firm foundation. They're all just killer musicians. They're all, in perfect harmony. They're playing off each other. There are all these very, very unique individuals and unique, styles that are coming together to create this incredible thing. And what better representation of that than the Crash? It has the same kind of funky, again, improvisational vibe. It's a product of the swinging 60s in London, which, come on, what more could you ask for? It's perfect. It's classic.
I like where you're coming from. I do like where you're coming from because I think that this watch, when you think about the people who made this watch, they were riffing.
Yes.
Right. When they
and so people are now saying that yes, they're saying that Miles Davis, the birth of the cool, You know, like
he said Miles Davis would wear the 5146 with a jumpsuit, which I actually really like as well.
like yeah, high out of his tree, absolutely, with like the biggest glasses you've ever seen in his life.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Grant's with you.
Thank you, people. We're gonna vote. We're gonna vote, and we'll try and keep track of the tally. But yeah, oh yeah, actually too as well. If you would like to know more about the Cartier crash and its origin stories, there's a lot of myth around the birth of the crash. Go ahead and check out the recent Gone in 60 Seconds that we put out on our YouTube channel. So,
That's true. You did a nice job with that.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of my favorite watches of all time. So this in particular is. I went off piece. This is a not for sale piece, but this is the new Bond Street edition. So a few years ago, when Cartier reopened their classic Maison on New Bond Street, they issued this piece and they made one per month available for sale.
Are they still making them?
I think it technically is still in production.
Yeah.
It's going on 5 years, I think now. But
Yeah, but that's not even, that's what, 60 watches.
yeah, that's
nothing.
true. Exactly. It's nothing. So incredibly rare. I mean, unbelievable. Absolutely killer piece. That's the right answer for jazz.
I mean, I guess if you're trust fund money, like, okay, I'll go with it.
We didn't. This is the thing. You have an absolute lack of imagination every single week. No one said that there was any limitation on this whatsoever. It was just the perfect pairing to go with whatever music we chose.
Mr. Paradigm.
Yeah, we need to know more about that.
1981 is throwing me off because I was about to say, Ron Carter, are you on the stream? Because he is still alive. But if that's legit, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
Miles did wear a Breitling Navitimer, which is cool. One of my favorite jazz musicians wearing a watch is there's a great photo of Dizzy Gillespie with a 6542 GMT where he's like sitting like this, and you can see it real clear, and it looks so sick.
Classic.
Somebody else, I think Mr. Paradigm mentioned Joshua Redman. Joshua Redman and the Elastic Band is fantastic, like
Whoa.
funky groove
Really?
stuff. Really
Cool.
good.
All
Anyway, next
Which
selection.
genre do you want to go to?
Let's just work our way through the list because I think it's
cool.
good. It salt and peppers around. So why don't you just play the next selection?
All right.
I think everybody will know it from the first few notes.
Obvious. All right, so if you don't know, Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, we decided to go with grunge. I'm trying to think. At Anders Hill 12 suggested 90s grunge. Great shout. We went with like, what else could we choose?
Yeah, I mean that's the epitome of grunge.
Yes.
Right. Most people, you say grunge and they're gonna go Nirvana.
Yes.
Because I think he was the standard bearer. So
I'll go first this time.
what's your grunge watch? No way.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
This is grunge. This is not grunge.
Let me explain.
We'll go to the wrist cam while he tries to piece this one together.
Grunge came out of kind of nowhere in the late 80s, early 90s. So you have hair metal in the 80s that was like the king of everything, and then Nirvana just really came out of nowhere, released their first album, and it was like it was such a slap in the face to the establishment and the current like popular wave of rock at the time. You know, it was like dirty, gritty, like incredibly energetic. It was like a real shock to the system when Nirvana, broke onto the scene.
Okay.
So my thought process here is Urwerk Ur100V, full black. This is a full titanium case and bracelet. There is nothing else like this in the world of watches. Like outside of Urwerk, you cannot name anything that really compares or competes with this in this like very niche part of the market. It blends tradition with, as Urwerk says himself, with futuristic vision. It's in your face. In my opinion, it's not pretty. It's not trying, Kurt Cobain wasn't trying to, sing beautiful melodies. Like, he was just screaming the feelings that he had inside of him. And this is what, I mean, that's what the Urwerk is doing. It is just like in your face. It's Yeah, it's just it's so much watch. It's so much like feeling, and it's just not like anything else out there.
Okay. I mean,
Oh my God! No one agrees with me.
I guess I see where you're coming from, and I do appreciate your argument there. I will appreciate your argument because
You can tell me I'm wrong. I tell you you're wrong all the time.
Right, no, but I get where you're coming from, and I appreciate the thought you put behind it. To me, though, this is too refined for grunge. Because like you said, grunge, like when they were recording that album, they weren't like going for like perfect high fidelity and all of this beautiful stuff. You know, they were playing cheap guitars and cheap amps and cheap effects and like...
The more distortion,
But they
the better.
got, like you play those first couple notes and that guitar sound in the beginning is like, man,
It's iconic.
what a great sound.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, they did layer like 47 tracks of guitars to make all that sound, which is why it sounds so huge. But to me, grunge has to have a little bit more edginess to it. And I actually don't think that's very edgy because I think it is so refined and beautiful. And so my grunge choice
Timeout.
is edgy.
You're saying that the Urwerk, full titanium, full black, is too refined, and then you pull out that?
And then I pull out an AP Royal Oak Offshore in full titanium.
That is like a more refined version.
No, look, this is so much slicker. This is so much slicker. When the Royal Oak Offshore came out, well, when the Royal Oak period came out, everybody was like, oh, you can see the gasket and you can see the screws. And it's like the first time somebody walked into a restaurant where they had that like open ceiling with all the ductwork exposed. They were like, oh, when are they gonna finish it? You know, like that's the thing that people saw with this. And like you listen to Smells Like Teen Spirit and it's like, oh, you know, what they do, record that in their garage? And it's like, that's the sound and the feel and the vibe. And so to me, this is my grunge watch.
Oh boy. But you picked, so the AP Royal Oak and the AP Royal Oak Offshore are like, they're synonymous with, thank you, yes,
Evan is trolling us so hard right now.
I love it, I love it. But it's like, this is such a, look at the craftsmanship and the brushing on that bezel, the individual links on the bracelet, like everything about this is so finely finished and so crisp and perfect.
And the same is true of grunge. When you listen to In Utero, it's a masterpiece.
It is, I know
and if you tried to recreate that, it would be impossible. But it's the same thing. You look at this and your first thought is like, that's really crude.
Wow.
But then it turns out not to be. Do you see the depth?
No, I don't.
Do you see the depth, Justin?
I don't understand at all, but okay. All right. I mean, people did say, you know, they think more of like Casio or something like that. You're probably right. You know, something more along those lines would have been more fitting. We're obviously pulling from stuff that's in our safe, so that is out. But, and yeah, I mean, BS saying, you know, he feels like these two watches are too high-end for grunge. You're probably not wrong. And honestly, there's something on the table that I thought Rob was, I mean, I thought you were going to go with this vintage Speedmaster as your grunge pick. But
sure, it could be.
It's
but
clearly
that's meant for other purposes, though. Because I don't think grunge is low end. I think that's very unfair to say that grunge is low end because another band that a lot of people will say is grunge is Pearl Jam.
Of course.
Pearl Jam is not low end.
No.
Right? But Pearl Jam is very different.
None of the bands that we would classify as grunge that we still talk about today are really low end. Like,
right, that's the thing.
None of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grunge is not low end.
All right.
I don't think grunge is low end. I think grunge comes from a place of low end. Grunge is, I'm going to get in such hot water.
Oh, boy.
But grunge is like the equivalent of like rakish music, right? Where it looks somewhat disheveled and not necessarily thought out and put together, but it actually is very carefully constructed.
I don't think rakish means what you think it does, but let's move on.
Am I wrong? Who got that one right? What's more grungy? AP Royal Oak Offshore Titanium,
or the Urwerk Ur100V full black? And you could say,
or you are.
I don't know. Who cares? Or you are. You guys can tell us we're both wrong too. It's fine. All right. Next up, moving right along.
While you queue up the next one,
Yes.
since we're at the halfway point, I thought I would just remind everybody that's sitting here on our lovely YouTube page and channel to like this video and go ahead and hit that subscribe button at the bottom. And if you hit the little bell icon next to that, you'll get notified when we go live for the happy hour as we're doing right now, and also when we post things like our Take 5s and our Gone in 60 Seconds.
All right. Next up.
Another iconic introduction.
Totally. I'm just gonna go right to the when the lyrics start here. Like the most iconic voice. All right.
Oh, love
So there you go. Motorhead, Ace of Spades. Again, like the most distinctive sound.
it. Yeah.
This is tough. This was a hard one, honestly, for
Oh,
me to
really?
figure out. Yeah.
No way, man. I could not wait to pick the most like heavy metal watch. I
Okay,
was
then
looking
you
forward
start.
to
You
this.
start. Go
I
ahead.
will start. All right. For heavy metal,
Yeah.
this had to be obvious.
That's a great
right?
pick,
You had
actually.
to pick this.
I kind of wish I picked that.
I went with Bethune. And Johnny O is right, Ace of Spades. I went with Bethune because I feel like this watch is metal. It's
It is.
giant. It's got, I love this like kind of star pattern for the hour markers behind it. The giant hands. It's got a cool power reserve on it. It's got a studded crown, right? You've got the exposed screws again, kind of like Royal Oak style, but in a much more industrial kind of feel. But you know what's really cool about this watch is even though it is all of these things, it's also still wearable. You can put this thing on and you can wear this with a suit because it's kind of flat. Like you could be the guy listening to Motorhead at like ear-splitting volumes in your car on the way to work, and then you get out and you're wearing your three-piece suit and you're like arguing tort law or something. That's a thing, right?
I love it. I'm actually mad that you picked this and I didn't because you're right. That's like the most Lemmy watch. It's so perfect.
Even the buckles. metal.
The fact that you called out the studded crown and everything, like, it's too good. It just works. Ugh, I'm mad.
Yes.
What?
I got one.
Well, I haven't
You
even
are
presented mine yet.
conceding.
I'm not
Yeah,
conceding.
but you're conceding.
I am
then
not
my
conceding.
Pick is excellent.
I agree. Your pick is excellent. Again, like it's got the vibe. I could see that on one of the guys in Motorhead while they're playing on stage. Like,
Yeah,
that
I'd
makes
wear
sense.
this on stage.
That makes sense.
This is another one of those watches. Like the size, I kind of wrote it off initially. Like it's not something I really looked at. But now that I have it on my wrist,
Oh, BB, here we go. All right. So Rob's done. Maybe I can redeem myself here.
look at that. I kind of think I'd wear that.
You've been talking about that watch forever.
I have not. I have not talked about Bethune like ever. I talk about Urwerk all the time.
You've talked about Bethune plenty as well.
I kind of like this.
All right.
It's
well,
kind of Panerai-ish.
Here you go. Oh my God, it is.
That's your
Panerai.
heavy metal
Yes,
watch.
yes.
Wow.
All right, so BB's saying something chunky and oversized is what I think of as heavy metal, and exactly. So I went ahead and went with classic IWC Big Pilot, reference 5002. So the original Big Pilot, introduced in 2002. You've got a 46, I believe, 46.2 millimeter case. And the one caveat I'm going to put on this, like, I think that strap, even with the studs and everything, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the bracelets that Lemmy wears and whatnot. But if you found like a crazy Bund strap for that, like ridiculous, like take that style leather with the studs and everything, but turn it into a Bund strap, and there you go. Like put this watch on that.
Basically, just adding that like that base.
Yes, adding that giant piece. That's kind of what I think of. Like it's still like, it's easy to think of heavy metal as just loud or like a lot, just crank up everything to 11 and just like distort everything and like
It distorts.
yeah, but it's not. Like these guys are, and Motorhead and a lot of other, heavy metal bands are incredible musicians. Like
There's
they're
a lot
so
behind it.
talented and they're so skilled. And this is kind of that. Like it's it is, yes, it's fairly basic, but you have a 7-day movement in there. It's, 46.2 mil. You've got, a really beautifully finished case, a nice deploy. Like, it's got a ton of presence, and it just, like, you can't mistake it for anything else.
You got one problem.
What?
This watch doesn't say heavy metal.
What do you mean?
This watch says John Mayer.
Ah, damn it.
This watch says John Mayer.
Yeah.
I don't
know. No, John Mayer is known for... So if this was 10 years ago, you'd be right. But John Mayer's taste has evolved, and he's now known for the John Mayer Daytona and the AP and so many other things.
He wears AP a lot.
This was the beginning of when he was getting into watches and talking watches and all that stuff. So
I think you have IWC Big Pilot on the brain because you also just did a Gone in 60 Seconds of this watch.
I did.
That also turned out really well. I really
fun.
recommend you go watch it. That one's pretty darn funny.
Thank you.
But I like it. I don't hate this choice. Like, this isn't as bad as some of your other ones. But this is way more metal.
I don't know, Johnny O. I can see Lemmy sitting at his video game wearing the Bethune.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Dang it.
Thanks for pointing that out.
All right.
What is Lemmy's video game, by the way?
I have absolutely no idea.
Like Guitar Hero or something?
That'd be awesome. All right.
There's got to be Motorhead and Guitar Hero.
There definitely is.
I like it. Everyone's like, which one is easier to do a line off of?
Well,
they both got pretty good surface area.
There's more surface area on the Crystal of the Big Pilot, so I'll take the win on that one. All right. Next up, we are moving into the classic rock. Just making sure I'm queuing this correctly. And
so this one, we just got an artist.
Right,
Somebody
and then we
just
chose.
said Clapton.
But when you say Clapton, I love Clapton, but you immediately think Layla. What do you think?
I don't know what I think of with Clapton, because actually my first experience with Clapton was Unplugged.
So was mine.
Because my dad had Unplugged, and he used to play it a lot in the house.
So
and the first version of Layla that I knew was that one.
On Saturdays, when my dad was cleaning, that would be on the actual record player was the Unplugged album, and that was what would get played.
I knew acoustic Layla before I knew electric Layla.
Okay, so you're saying that you think of a different version of the same song that I just chose.
It's funny because Clapton is an artist like Miles, where like you could look at him at any spot in his career. Like, I didn't discover like real bluesy Clapton till later.
Really?
Like John Mayall Bluesbreaker Clapton and like Yardbirds Clapton till like much later kind of thing. I didn't even know that stuff existed. And he's just had such a huge span of his career. And it's interesting because also a watch guy. Right, you think of Clapton, and we have watches known as the Clapton and the Evil Clapton from Universal Genève. We have Clapton dial Pateks, where they have Breguet numerals on them and things like that.
Don't scoop me right now, dude.
Okay, why don't you start then?
All right,
since I went first before.
And so I went ahead and I picked a Patek 5970R. Sorry.
Do you know where you are right now?
I don't. Sorry. I have all different Clapton Pateks on the brain right now, because again, when I think of Clapton, and and he's known for just a ridiculous collection of unique Pateks that have dripped and dropped out to auctions over the years now. There's the salmon dial 3970 white gold. There's the rose gold 5004 with the black dial. There's the platinum 5004 with the blue dial, with the Breguet 12, and then the studs. Like, he has impeccable taste when it comes to just complicated, beautiful Pateks. And obviously, I didn't have a piece unique, 5004 or 5970 or 3970 or whatever. So I went ahead and I grabbed the closest thing that I could find. And, even though this is not, again, one of the piece uniques, with a unique dial and, Breguets and studs and, yada, yada, yada.
It's worthy.
It's worthy. Like,
it's worthy. I'm going to give it to you.
It still pairs perfectly. It's such a classic design that is, like, technically perfect, but has, like, a certain, like, virtuoso level of, like
right there.
Yes, exactly. Like, you flip it over. Even the dial, though. It's this, like, perfect perfect combination of all these different elements. You know, Patek is known, you know, if Patek is known for one thing, it's for, perpetual calendar chronographs. Like, it's just so perfect. You can still, you know, as Clapton has shown, you can take this bass and you can customize it and make it your own. And kind of like you're saying, you know, he has a 60-plus year career that has been, you know, from Cream all the way, you know, through working, you know, playing backing tracks for the Beatles, through, you know, Slow Hand, through Crossroads, through Unplugged, like all this incredible stuff. And there's so many different variations, you know, the different generations of dials of these pieces. It's perfect. And like when I think of, you know, Clapton, who was like, you know, when you think of like the greatest guitarist of all time, Clapton is on that list, obviously. And when I think of some of the greatest Grand Comps, perpetual calendar chronos of all time, like this watch specifically has to be on there.
I should have went first. I should have went first.
What do you got? What do you got?
Actually, that is the Clapton watch.
Right.
I think you nailed it.
All right.
I have to acquiesce and say that you.
What did you pick from
did it.
From the remaining watches on this table, Rob? I'm going to be well, everyone is going to be disappointed in Rob's choice now. So what do you got?
I went with the Speedy.
What?
I went vintage Speedy in this case.
Interesting.
Because I think that Clapton, especially his older music.
Yeah.
You know, music is one of those things, it's a very transient art, right? It exists in a time. And sometimes stuff gets out of time.
Of course.
And it doesn't hold up anymore.
100%.
But I feel like Clapton has aged beautifully. And you go back and you listen to Layla, and you listen to early stuff, you listen to later stuff, you listen to Unplugged, it doesn't matter. All of it still holds up in a tremendous way. Except for maybe Riding with the King.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Everything else,
I don't know.
it's okay. It's just too cheesy.
Yeah.
But his stuff has held up. And I think of him, I think of the UGs, I think of vintage chronographs, and I think of this is the classic rock of watches. This, you could be wearing a Speedmaster at any get-together and somebody's like, oh, that's a cool watch. Right? It doesn't matter if it's a brand new one. Doesn't matter if it's from 1963 like this one and it's all vibey and faded and lovely, which obviously this is my particular brand of vodka here. I'd rather have it this way. I think this is a stunner. This is an Ed White reference 105.003 from 1963. We've got a killer faded bezel. We have the old school 39 millimeter case, pre-moon, because this watch never went to the moon.
I mean, I like your reasoning. I just feel that it's too pedestrian, and I don't mean this in a negative sense, but I feel like it's too pedestrian for Clapton. It's too. You can go, you know, walk down the street and you're gonna see what? You're gonna see a bunch of Speedies. Like in the watch world, I love the Speedmaster. I've owned a Speedmaster. I think everybody should own a Speedmaster. They're such great pieces, and there's so many awesome deals out there on vintage stuff. Like, they're amazing, but there's just too many of them out there. Omega has pumped them out for 65 years or whatever now. Like, there's just too many, so I think it's just too, pedestrian isn't the right word, but it's too everyday for the kind of like level that I put Clapton at.
I feel like you actually even made my argument stronger there, because there are people who would make the same argument about Eric Clapton.
Oh.
I wouldn't.
Yikes.
I wouldn't, because I do think, it's funny, there's a big, like one of the hot topics that would spark a lot of debate in a guitar forum is that Clapton is a more influential guitarist than Jimi Hendrix.
No.
I actually agree. Clapton is more influential because I think Clapton had much greater reach than Jimmy.
All right, we'll get back to that. We need to move on. We need to move on.
That's another show.
All right. So we're gonna skip.
So who won?
Well, no.
Speedmaster.
We'll at the end. We'll at the end. We'll at the end.
But they
Everybody
have to
vote. No, at the end we'll have it be an overall thing.
Oh.
People can tell us. All right, we're gonna. We had another classic rock one lined up, but we're gonna skip that. We're gonna move on to a completely different.
Are you serious?
I am. Yes.
You cannot skip that.
I'm skipping it, Rob.
No, I won't allow it. I will take the shortest possible time.
Okay.
So hold on.
All right, I'll play it. Hold on.
Play it for 2 seconds here. So at Von Walker recommended Another classic rock song. And this is cool because this is very different from Clapton.
Yes.
In many ways.
Totally. I'm just queuing it up properly. Let me turn it up now. All right, here you go. I didn't want to go. Yes, Robert, I know I need to press play. There you go. So Von Walker suggested Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, obviously. We went ahead and chose Time. I had to just skip through 2.5 minutes of intro, but yeah, obviously.
Chills.
Dark Side of the Moon. Come on.
Okay.
We can't say anything that hasn't been said about it. You go ahead.
My stoner watch is this. You see why we had to do this.
I do.
You see
All
why
right.
we had to do this.
That's great.
This is my stoner
That's
watch.
great.
This is the Swiss Mad Watch from H. Moser. And how is this not the world's most perfect stoner watch? We have the red fume dial. We have the quarter-hour markers, which also obviously are very reminiscent of the cross on the Swiss flag. We have the truest calf skin strap that has ever been, because Swiss cows and all that. And it's a beautiful case size. It fits really well. You could put this on a standard strap and it wouldn't be so crazy. But it's also like, if you were listening to Dark Side of the Moon in the right circumstances and you were to just stare at this dial,
Well,
right?
all right, you've run
Right?
you've run out of
That's
time.
my Dark Side of the
All right,
Moon
well,
watch.
the correct Dark Side of the Moon watch, if you're gonna make me show it, is the AP Royal Oak Double Balance Openworked in full black ceramic. So, yes, I don't want to be too on the
So
nose.
you were like,
Hold on.
okay, I need a black watch.
Hold on. No, screw you. Let me get there. So it is a nice, easy. Don't die on me now. It was a happy coincidence that this happens to be black ceramic. So what I wanted to say about this specifically is that both Dark Side of the Moon and this specific piece are incredibly complex and layered. Looking at that dial, looking through that movement, whether you're looking from the dial side or the reverse side, there is so much depth and there's so many elements layered one on top of the other. And when I think of Dark Side of the Moon, it blows my mind that they made that on, how many tracks? 8 tracks, 12 tracks, whatever
Yeah,
it was. Like,
it doesn't seem possible.
it doesn't seem possible. There's so much depth. There's so much going on. There's so many weird little, giggles that are happening in the background that fit perfectly into the song and everything. It's just, there's so much depth. There's so many layers, and it's just like, it's pretty technically perfect as well.
So you went very cerebral.
I did.
And you went very deep.
You
and I
went, I'm gonna
just
go
said,
smoke a doob.
What is
Yeah.
the stoner watch? And I went with the stoner watch. So, excuse me. You all decide. You all decide.
It looks like I'm winning. It looks like all right. Next up, we are
I
going
like
to.
my choice for that
I'm
one.
sure you do
I'm
like
very
your
proud
choice.
of
I'm
that.
sure you do like your
Very
choice.
proud of that.
All right. Next up, let me turn the sound back up.
This brought me back.
This is
I
one of
haven't
my,
heard this
is one of
song
my
in,
favorite
20
albums of all
years.
time, favorite artists of all time. So for rap, hip hop, we decided to go with Definition by Black Star, which is Talib Kweli and Mos Def. This was on heavy rotation in my Jeep Grand Cherokee when I was 17 years old.
I had to look this up. This was
love this.
98.
Yeah, exactly.
This was 98.
If you haven't listened to it, or you haven't listened to it in a while, go back, revisit it. Insane album. It's so amazing, and the reason why it pairs perfectly with this AP
because
Royal
it
Oak
would be
concept.
more different.
I
It's
know.
so funny.
I know. So again, Black Star, cool as hell. It's two of the kind of quietly greatest rappers, I think, of all time in Talib and Mos Def coming together and collaborating on this super interesting project. Obviously, afterwards they went off and did their own things. Yep. The AP Royal Oak, concept line in general, and then specifically this split Chrono GMT. It's the pairing of Renault and Poppy, the legendary movement maker, and AP coming together, pushing the medium forward, using interesting materials, doing new things, creating new like movement architecture.
Even that case.
Yeah.
That case shape is so wild. That's my favorite part about these watches. Look at the curve.
It's amazing. And it's huge and it's in your face and it's like brash, but it still works and it's still like aesthetically pleasing and just like interesting and fun. And that's the vibe I get from Black Star and specifically from Definition.
Okay.
This makes no sense. This makes no sense. You're gonna need to wow me with this right now.
I went with this incredible Daniel Roth chronograph. And, this is one of those things where I kind of took a similar approach to you, where I think you listen to something like that, you listen to that album, and on the surface you think this is very simple and it's very like, it seems obvious. But the truth is that so much work went into how that thing was put together, and there's so much talent and skill underneath of that. And I think that it actually, like, I listen to things like that, and I think that it is actually quite, like, ornate and elaborate.
Yes, it is.
And I think about Jay-Z. I now have this Jay-Z thing stuck in my head of him wearing, like, that crazy Franck Muller Rolex with the perpetual calendar and Grandmaster chime. And that leads me to this watch. Because this is like, this is like the Rococo chronograph, right? This is over the top. We have crazy bevels on the case. We have all kinds of different guilloche. We have a beautiful, complicated, manually wound chronograph. Like, I don't know why, but I saw this watch and I was thinking about that song and I was like, this is that song.
This makes no sense.
This is that song
whatsoever,
on the wrist.
Robert.
This watch is sick. I don't care what you say. This thing.
This is like
slaps
Herbie Hancock or something.
Hard.
Like, this makes
no, it is
no
not.
sense.
This is not Herbie. This is the farthest watch from Herbie. This is anti-Herbie.
People, please help me out here. Can you please vote? Oh my God.
This is your Black Star watch, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Well, with 5 minutes left, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go to the pop top 40 suggestion that came from our good friend and colleague Zachary Botwick.
Yep.
And let me make sure I'm turned up here. And
I think this is Zach's favorite song.
There you go. There you go. Rock out. Enjoy it. Take it in. Take it in. Obviously, Kelly Clarkson, Since You've Been Gone.
Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson.
I think we did the same thing.
Did we?
I think based upon what's left on the table, I think we did the same thing. I think we are ending our music show in harmony.
I don't know if we are, actually. I think go ahead. Here, to end it, you're gonna pick what you think my answer was, and I'm gonna pick what I think your answer was from what's remaining over there.
2, 1, go.
Wrong, Robert. Wrong. That was for something else.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I cannot feel.
So.
Sorry, folks. I am still recovering mildly from.
Yeah, Rob was down with the sickness last week. So, all right. So I went ahead and picked the Panerai Radiomir 3-Day.
Oh,
this
is
a PAM 376, and you're gonna hate me more.
The only song this makes me think of is Cartman's "I Hate You Guys."
You're gonna hate me more because wait till I explain why this is my choice. So, Kelly Clarkson, Since You've Been Gone, is catchy as hell. It's 20 plus years old now, and everyone, yes, everyone, Robert, still knows every single friggin' word to it. That is the kind of embarrassing song that, like, you're alone in your car, it comes on the radio, you scream it at the top of your lungs, you know every single word to it. It was designed, like in a lab back in, the early 2000s to appeal to as many people as possible, but it's actually kind of great. And the perfect pairing for that in watch form has to be this beautiful Panerai Radiomir.
With a California dial.
Design has not changed in decades by design. It's embarrassing, but kind of great. Like, I love the design. I actually would wear it. I don't know if I'd be proud to wear it, but like, it's great, and everybody knows what it is. You can't wear a Panerai and walk down the street and have somebody not know that it's a Panerai on your wrist. So the Panerai PAM 376 is the Kelly Clarkson of watches. There you go.
Okay.
What do you got?
I went two-tone Daytona for a lot of those same reasons. of like the nostalgia and the you don't want to admit that you like it, but and I was going to say the same exact thing. You don't want to admit that you like it, but if that comes on in your car and it's a beautiful day and you're actually in a good mood, you probably would crank that up and scream along. So to me, two-tone Daytona, diamonds on the dial, and this being the new version with those gold subs, like, come on.
See, that's too good to...
I love it.
It's great.
Yeah, but Kelly
But
Clarkson's good
you're right.
too.
It's like...
You just don't want to admit that it's good.
Robert, I just said that I would sing every single word in my car by myself.
This is the same exact thing?
You're right. Well, so I thought about it. I went with... We were going to do an emo song, which we happened... Because Robert had to talk about Pink Floyd, we didn't get to emo. And the mock...
That was my emo watch.
That makes sense. That would have been great as well.
Wow,
Very
that's
fitting.
the first one where you're like, well, not true. But I'm surprised you agree with that one.
All right, we made it. We went through almost everything in the comments. Who won? Let us know, please, right now. And then after the fact, if you're watching this after the fact.
Go to the top down. Go to the top down. I'm sorry. This is creativity. And we are talking about music and creativity and artistic expression. And this collection of watches, for the music selections we just heard, this is creative.
Rob,
this is creative.
Well,
and
I think you're using creativity as a catch-all for not doing your homework, but that's fine.
What do you mean?
That's fine.
Careful consideration is going into this. You just picked the most expensive
John
stuff
Festa
you could,
says I won.
Always.
Thank you. I did not pick the most expensive stuff.
Let's see.
That's expensive.
Crash.
Yes,
$59.70.
Oh, you had to think about that, did you there?
No, I'm just waiting for you to say, yes, that's expensive.
Yes, that's expensive. Yes, that's expensive. But then I also picked a Panerai, Robert, and an IWC. And again, there was no rule at the beginning that said that we had to pick the most cost-effective collection of watches.
No, there's nothing about cost-effective, but the point is that this is so much more interesting.
Robert, Mr. Paradigm just said that you lost. I just want to point that out. So, there are many more genres. There are actually a bunch of honorable mentions that we didn't get to. CAD Camera, Corey Cavallari, CJ Sweeted, Pranav Prasanna, like so many great.
Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. That's like one of the greatest songs ever written.
So many great. Sorry, did you switch us back? So many great suggestions that we didn't get to. So we'll have to do this again. This was a lot of fun.
The smooth jazz one, I was trying to think of what my Kenny G watch is. Because that would be such a fun one, but I actually didn't know. There was nothing in the inventory that I really wanted to kind of hate on to the level that I would hate on Kenny G. So I didn't really have something. But
we'll
that
do it some other
could be a
time.
fun one another time.
Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. We missed you guys last week. Again, make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing, turn notifications on. We got a lot more stuff coming out. And join us again next week for another Horological Happy Hour.
It didn't work.
What'd you do?
I pushed play, but it didn't work.
Oh, for Kelly Clarkson?
Turn it on.
All right.
Take us out.
Right. Taking us out. All right, guys.
Oh, it's because your volume's all the way down.
See you guys next week. Thank you so much.